We will now call the meeting to order. If we could please pay attention to Councilman Cohen for the invocation to be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight's invocation will be given by John Hanson. You might recognize him because he's also a chaplain for Shawnee County Sheriff's Office. Please welcome John Hanson.
Please rise if you're able.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, Creator of all, thank you for this day you have given us to serve you and our community. Thank you for these you have chosen to lead our city. Grant unto them wisdom in the many tasks that lay before them, that there may be peace and safety in our community, and that we bring honor and glory unto you. In all of this, we give you praise and thanksgiving. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There we go. Thank you. Second week in a row that the microphone is giving me challenges. We would like to invite Jennifer Grassman and Elizabeth Freeland with Kansas Children's Service League. So we are having a proclamation. Whereas the day of April 17th, 2018 will be declared as Drug Endangered Children Awareness Day. The statewide Kansas Allegiance for Drug Endangered Children, along with the Shawnee County Alliance for Drug Endangered Children, invite all residents of the city of Topeka to participate in Drug Endangered Children Day. Therefore, I, Michelle de la Isla, Mayor of the city of Topeka, Kansas, hereby proclaim the day of Tuesday, April 17th, 2018 as Drug Endangered Children Awareness Day. Could you please give us some information about this?
Yes, we have the Endangered Children Alliance in Shawnee County to recognize the number of babies that are born positive for substances and the number of children that reside in substance-exposed environments. So the Alliance works to promote education. We're having a training with a national speaker next week, and we also work to provide services for families that might be struggling with substance abuse.
Thank you for your work for the community. I would now like to invite my good friend Lisa Brown and Mr. Vince Cox. So many attorney jokes, so little time. But I understand that I'm here in the capacity of mayor, so I will behave. And this is a proclamation for Law Day. Whereas Law Day 2018 recognizes the importance of the separation of powers in our government. This year's theme, Separation of Power, Framework for Freedom, recognizes that Constitution principles of separations and powers and checks and balances preserve political liberty and provide a framework for freedom. Law Day has been an annual observance since President Dwight Eisenhower's establishment in 1958 as a day of a national dedication to the principle of government under law. Therefore, I, Michelle de la Isla, Mayor of Topeka, Kansas, do hereby proclaim May 1st as Law Day. And I call upon the city of Topeka, Kansas to acknowledge the importance of our court and judicial systems. Very important and timely. Would you like to say a few words, Lisa?
Vince would like to.
Thank you. First, I'd just like to thank you, Mayor, and the City Council for continuing to allow us to honor Law Day with the proclamation every year. I think Law Day is one of the most important things we do with the Topeka Bar Association because we use it as a tool to educate the public about the importance of the judicial system in our government. And this year we'll be having an event at the Shawnee County Courthouse on May 1st. Additional details about that will be forthcoming, but it'll be a chance for the public to hear about our judicial system.
We now proceed with the roll call.
Mayor Jay Laisla,
Here.
Council members Hiller. Here. Clear. Here. Ortiz. Here. Emerson.
Here.
Padilla.
Here.
Jensen.
Present.
Mays.
Here.
Cohen.
Here.
And Lesser.
Here.
We now proceed with the consent agenda, if the clerk would read.
A is an ordinance introduced by City Manager Brent Trout allowing and approving city expenditures for the period of March 3 through March 30, 2018, and enumerating said expenditures therein. Items B through E are resolutions introduced by Councilmember Karen Hiller approving special events for the second Saturday Summer Concert Series, Sunshine Reggae Roots Festival, Tap That After Party, and Rotary Freedom Fest. Items F through H are resolutions introduced by Councilmember Karen Hiller granting the Celtic Fox an exception to the provisions of City of Topeka Code Section 945-150 at seat concerning noise prohibitions for the second Saturday Summer Concert, Sunshine Reggae Fest, Tap That After Party. I is a resolution introduced by Councilmember Sandra Clear granting Sacred Heart St. Joseph Parish an exception to the provisions of City of Topeka Code Section 945-150 at seat concerning noise prohibitions. J are minutes of the regular meeting of April 10, 2018, and there's a list of open after midnight application renewals, and staff is requesting approval.
We have in front of us the list of applications and a consent agenda. Deputy Mayor,
Motion to approve.
we have a motion. Councilman Cohen seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we proceed with the voting.
We have 10 yes.
10 having voting yes, the consent agenda passes. We now proceed to action items. Item A, if the clerk would read.
A is an ordinance introduced by City Manager Brent Trout amending the district map referred to and made a part of the zoning ordinance by Section 1850-050 of the Topeka Municipal Code by providing for certain changes in zoning on property located at 2705 now Northwest Topeka Boulevard from C2 Commercial District to C3 Commercial District.
City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Governing body, tonight we have a request for rezoning that's presented for your consideration. The Planning and Zoning Commission approved this request at their March 19th meeting. This is fairly straightforward, and staff is prepared to answer any questions if there are.
Are there any questions from the body? Councilman Lesser.
Bill here? Yeah. Hello, Bill. Hey, just a couple of questions. How many cars did they think they were going to have at one point in time displayed for sale?
Councilman Lesser, it would be 2 to 3.
2 to 3, okay, okay. And I'm just in looking at the diagram of the property I'm trying to just ascertain by the photos, all the cars are going to be parked on paved surfaces? Is it?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. That was my only, I was kind of looking at it and I couldn't tell from the front of it whether or not that was going to be the case. That's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the body? Well, prior to the voting, I'm going to kind of read through what I would call the Harmon disclosure. I think that we all recall and very fondly remember how Mr. Richard Harmon, council member for District 9, used to always make sure that we had the proper language on how to absolve ourselves and explain if we have any ex parte communication. So prior to proceeding with the vote, each member of the governing body who has engaged in ex parte communication with any individual, either in favor or against the matter being considered, must state that this communication occurred and indicate that even in the light of having engaged in this communication, you're able to fairly, objectively, and impartially consider the measure based upon the evidence provided on record. The record includes the Planning Commission minutes, the staff reports and its attachments, the public comments made during the Planning Commission hearing, and similar relevant information related to the matter. This declaration is required due to the fact that the governing body is acting in a quasi-judicial role, making the decision, and must demonstrate appropriate process has been afforded. So has any council member engaged in such communication?
No, none that I recall.
Madam Chair, none to my recollection.
Thank you.
None.
None.
None that I'm aware of.
No.
No communication.
I had communication with a couple of the neighbors in regards to the process.
Thank you. That being said, everybody has disclosed. Is there a motion? Oh, Councilwoman Clear.
This is my district. Move to approve.
Councilwoman Clear moves to approve.
Second.
Councilman Lesser seconds. We proceed with the voting.
We have 10 yes.
10 having voting yes, the motion passes. We now move on to item B in the agenda, if the clerk would read.
B is an ordinance introduced by City Manager Brent Trapp pertaining to an amendment to the text and map of the Topeka Comprehensive Plan for the Quinton Heights-Steele Neighborhood Plan.
City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. The Quinton Heights-Steele Neighborhood Plan was presented last week for your review. Tonight, the item is presented for your approval. Staff is available to answer any questions you may have regarding the plan.
Thank you very much. We do have two individuals signed up for public comment before we begin discussion. I would like to call Mr. James Prout.
Hello. How's everybody doing tonight? Was that me? Okay. I know I spoke with you folks last week, so thank you for bearing with me one more time. I just really wanted to speak to you again and kind of drive home the point of what I talked about last week. We really feel our neighborhood for a long time had been a forgotten neighborhood in Topeka, and there was attrition because of that. So you saw the quality of life in our neighborhood go down little by little by little. This was our first chance to really get in and get our hands dirty and be able to come up with a plan to help ourselves out, through the sort process, which has been a great deal of work, as well as a great opportunity for our neighborhood and for the individuals in the neighborhood as well, I believe. It's really helped everybody come together. The plan that we're proposing to you guys, we think will really help bring parts of the city together with the bridge. It helps connect the trail, the Shunka Trail. It gives our children a safe way to get to school. It's huge. And hopefully what it will end up doing is help bringing washroom students into our community, into our neighborhood, and seeing that it's a great place to live. And when they upon graduation, what we hope is they come join us and help us make this place even better than it already is. So I just want to thank you for your time, and I would like to thank all the folks at the city that really worked hard with us. Thank you guys, and hopefully it goes our way.
Thank you. The next person signed up to speak for this item is Noel Alexander.
Mayor, not to waste your time, I only signed up just in case there were questions. I say thanks to not only you, council, and staff, but it's Quinton Heights' turn.
Love it. Okay.
Jackson can make it come up.
Councilwoman Ortiz.
We don't count self-appointed attorneys on this. You have to make, there you go. That does not count. Am I correct? Can I get a legal opinion on that? Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve this long and overdue plan for the residents that are in my district, Quinton-Steele Heights, that I've worked with for years, and I'm scared to go to another NIA meeting if this doesn't pass. So I'd like to make a motion to.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Ortiz and a second by Councilman Padilla. Are there any further comments? Councilwoman Clear.
I noticed where it said it's Chapter 6 implementation, and it says sort projects, and then it says, in addition to sort funds, Shawnee County Parks and Rec is recommending another $35,000 upgrades to Shunga Glen, 2 other park projects, top play structure $50,000, open air shelter $30,000. Are they volunteering to pay for that, or is that what they think we need to put into the parks?
Councilwoman Clear, the $35,000 amount is a number of different items, and those they have agreed to pay for at this point at the implementation. The $50,000 for the tot playground and the open air shelter, which I think the total's up to about $80,000. At this point, they are not committed to that, other than they are committing to considering it in 2 to 3 years. With their cycle of funding, that's what they're looking at right now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Additional comments before we proceed with the voting? Seeing none, we proceed with the voting.
We have 10 yes.
10 having voting yes, the motion passes. Congratulations to Quinton Heights for all of your hard work, and especially to James, their president, who is also an entrepreneur and a business owner, and all the time that he has devoted to this is to be commendable, and to all the community citizens that came in to support them. Congratulations. We now proceed with item C, if the clerk would read.
C is a resolution introduced by City Manager Brent Trout authorizing and adopting the 2019 to 2028 capital improvement plan and the 2019 to 2021 capital improvement budget, and approving the project budgets.
City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Governing body, at this point, we're presenting this again for consideration. There have been discussions with a number of council members about changes that they are like to see considered relative to the budget. At this point, I guess we would ask for discussion from the governing body as to how to proceed.
Governing body? Sure. Councilman Emerson.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, I was one that met with staff for a couple hours on Friday. First of all, some fantastic news. There's one project in here, for instance, that working with the staff and with Bob Sample and Braxton and Sylvia Davis, it's a generator project. They were able to figure out a way to do it differently. Going to save about $4 million, so that's a fantastic piece of news. There's another project that staff had already, at the zoo, a couple fire hydrants that the zoo had already done the right thing and had an existing contractor put them in. I'm not involved with that project, by the way. But it ended up saving about $500,000, and that's another project we can take out of here. However, in our discussions with staff, they felt with the magnitude of some of these changes, it would probably be premature to try to package all this up, get everyone apprised of the changes, as well as some things that I was asking for and a couple other members. So if my motion would be to postpone consideration of this item to the May 1st meeting, and in talking with staff, that will give us plenty of time still to consider the changes as well as get those changes propagated to everyone. And still vote on it in time so that it won't impact the budget process.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I will say for discussion that I really do appreciate the work that staff has put into putting the CIP together, and also appreciate the great conversations that Councilman Emerson and I have had with regards to the looking into the process. City manager and I were discussing that we really want for the process to feel like it's more council related. And he is already devising how next year is going to be maybe just a little bit different so that we could have further input. However, I would highly recommend for the council that this is one of our really big items. And it's really important that everybody gets a chance to comment and everybody gets a chance to publicly discuss this, because this is your item. If we ever feel in the future that we need to have discussions, it'd be great for us to go ahead and have a work session. These are things that we have available to us so that those conversations could be public and every single person on the council has a chance to weigh in. So I appreciate all the work. We have a motion and we have a second in order for us to go ahead and defer this item. Do we have, oh, we do have public comment. Mr. Joseph Ledbetter.
I'll defer.
Mr. Ledbetter defers. So we have a motion and a second. Are there any other comments? Councilwoman Claire.
Have a couple. I'd like to have staff check on the Tyler, Lyman, Beverly, and Tyler, Beverly, Paramore Streets. I know I looked the last CIP up and I had some constituents calls that this has been pushed back 3 years from the last year's. And I would like to know how many years it's been pushed back and then why it's been pushed back. And I'm thinking if there's any more in here that have been pushed back and new ones come in, I think we need to look at that, on why it keeps getting pushed back. I think we need to take care of the ones that have been pushed back before we start new ones. Okay, so that's my first. The next is on like page 117 about the ADA assessment. It's $125,000 for, is it for us to check and see if we're ADA regulated? Is that what this is for?
I believe it is. You got it, Doug? Go ahead and respond.
Madam Mayor and Councilwoman, that's the scope of the project, that's correct.
Have we not done that? Do we not know if they're ADA? Weren't they ADA last year, the year before?
I think I guess I would give you the answer that it's an ongoing evaluation, and we always need to look at those issues to make sure that we're current and up to date.
Have they changed ADA regulations?
I mean, I think it's fair to say that there's probably some buildings in which we are not compliant in all areas. And so this project would give us a comprehensive look at every facility to show us where exactly we're not compliant.
Did we do this last year? Have we ever done this?
I don't believe we've done it as a comprehensive looks in my tenure here, at least. That doesn't mean it's been done in the past. It hasn't been done in the past, I'm not aware.
Comprehensive meaning?
Across city facilities.
But you've done maybe one at a time, but not. I guess I'm understanding, how come these got missed if we know everybody else? Like the law enforcement center, do we not know it's ADA accessible?
I mean, the scope of that law is very broad, and it, as you know, it includes all sorts of issues, not just ramps. So, I mean, I'm sure there's areas in many of our facilities where we're not compliant, yes. And we need to assess that on a facility-wide basis. As you know, facilities are one of the areas that have been neglected over the years in our CIP, and this is an example of trying to bring ourselves
But this is just to assess. This isn't to fix anything.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the price tag to fix many of these things will be significantly more.
So is this like $125,000 for one person to go around and look? Is this do you hire somebody for $125,000? Is it staff?
So if you look, it's out in 2021. So that's an estimate of what it might cost to hire this project done in that year. Yes.
So if we're not ADA compliance now, we're gonna wait that many years before we even know? Can we not get fined for that?
Councilwoman, I
I mean,
am
shouldn't
not
we have done
familiar
this?
enough to know.
Huh? Well, we need to know. We need to figure out if they come and check all these places that we don't know about, and then we're not even doing it for 2021, we might get in some trouble.
Again, it's largely been done on a piecemeal basis. When we renovate facilities, we take care of it when we do that facility, but to my knowledge, it hasn't been done on a comprehensive basis,
We might want
at
to
least
move that
recently.
up. Okay, thank you.
Additional comments or questions for the staff before we defer the item? Okay, we have a motion and we have a second to defer the action on this item for the 1st of May. We now proceed with the voting.
We have 10 yes.
10 having voting yes, so the permit passes. The next item is associated also with the CIP, so I'm thinking that if this one is deferred, the second one will be deferred. But if the clerk would read, so that we could go through the protocol.
D is a resolution introduced by City Manager Brent Trout declaring the necessity to repair, alter, reconstruct, enlarge, or improve the city's water pollution, and/or stormwater utility system through improvement projects authorized by the resolution, and provided notice of intention authorizing the issuance of resolution revenue bonds in the manner required by KSA 10-1201 at C.
Again, this item is an item associated with the prior item. We have the first item deferred, therefore I would entertain from the body a motion for deferral for this one as well.
All motion.
Councilman Cohen makes the motion. Councilwoman Clear seconds. Do we have any comments? Oh, Mr. Ledbetter?
Thank you, everybody. I know there's a motion on the floor to defer this, and I would support that. But I would just like to place some concerns on the record about revenue bonds. It's my understanding that when we take these revenue bonds out, we get about 65% of the money back instead of using cash. I was looking at one of the items where we were going to replace over 5 years, looks like 15 miles of pipes, distribution or transmission. What concerns me is under that item that I saw, they also are going to use that same amount in revenue bonds. We did just have a 20% cumulative hike in our water sewer rates over the next 2 years, which has already started. So check your water bills, audience. It just went up. I don't understand why we can't pay for cash for some of these projects. And I would also encourage you to, when you come back, think about increasing the amount of miles we're paying for. And I know after talking to Braxton and some people that lived in that area on Oakley that they had a catastrophic break over there. I guess they had Old Faithful erupt in somebody's lawn a few years ago. And I actually saw a similar break even further north the year before when I was in that area. And you know, it seems like if you have an 80-year-old cast iron pipe that's in danger of system failure, you might want to think about moving it up and getting it taken care of. I realize we've got about 850 miles of lines. About 100 of those are outside the city. We have a lot of those in newer areas, and a number of years ago they did replace a number of lines with the Red Water program. But it seems like if you have a problem area, why not deal with it and then save yourself some operational expense with overtime and extra staffing and those kinds of concerns. So I just wanted to place that on the record as a concern. about revenue bonds. I think one of the charts said that we were using 52% of the money that we're spending in this area based on revenue bonds. And revenue bonds are fine. They cost more than geo bonds. I would recommend you use them in areas where you're going to increase your productivity and your efficiencies and cut your operational costs. I would think that would be the first priority if you're going to do the extra expense. But this is your show, so it's your decision. But I just want to put my concerns on record. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ledbetter. Additional comments? Seeing none, we proceed with the voting. Again, the vote is to defer this second item.
We have 10 yes.
10 having voted yes, the motion passes. We now proceed to the non-action items. Neighborhood health update, if the clerk would read.
A is a discussion on findings from the city's 2017 neighborhood health update.
City manager.
Mayor, governing body, tonight we're pleased to have Director Finder provide information relative to our health map that we utilize to determine the status of our neighborhoods. This is something that we do on a recurring basis. I can't remember exact rotation. Is it 3 years, Bill, or 4?
Yes.
3 years. So with that, it's been interesting information to see how we're progressing in certain neighborhoods and where we're having issues. It's enlightening as we look at where we need to be spending our time and effort in various parts of the community. It also shows us this plays a role as we look forward at reauthorizing our neighborhood revitalization program so that we can then begin to attack some of these neighborhoods, providing the opportunity for redevelopment and assistance to projects that might occur. So with that, I'll turn it over to Director Finder.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager, governing body. Good evening. I'm pleased to present the 6th edition of the Neighborhood Health Map for City of Topeka. As you heard, we do this every 3 or 4 years. We started back in 2000. The last time we did this was 2014, 3 years ago. The data tonight will be from 2017. And so everything I present to you, think 2017, it's not 2018. And then what we want to do is kind of tell you what it is, how we use it, what the findings were, what changed, where, and some of the whys and the factors that may have went into that, and we'll take some questions if you have any. So for those of you not as familiar with it, this is a metaphor. Neighborhood health is not actually the physical well-being of any organism, but it is simply an overall need metric that we use for the neighborhoods. It's primarily residential based in the data that we collect. And we use that to, number 2 is to really target our priorities or recognize where we prioritize our resources. If you want to think of it as a sort of a triage for neighborhoods, just keep with the health metaphors. That's kind of how we use it. What goes into the health score or health grading are 5 vital signs: poverty, crimes, residential property values, single-family home ownership, and unsafe structures. Note on the bottom there that we do, while the city has some influence in how these things shift and ebb and flow, a lot of this is determined by larger market trends and economic trends, so just keep that in mind as we go through this. So we take the 5 vital signs on the left, we average those, and the output is one of 4 health classifications, the optimal being healthy at the top there on the right. Next is outpatient, which is favorable conditions. At risk is next. Those are beginning to see emerging negative conditions in neighborhoods, and then intensive care is the most seriously distressed. So what changed in 2017? And by the way, all the data I'm presenting tonight is I'll show you, it is online. We did hand out books Friday, I believe, in your mail. So everything that you have in this notebook is exactly what we have online. There's everything you were afraid to ask for is answered probably in here. So what did change? The good news is there's good news. We have, if you remember 3 years ago, we had a little more of the flip of this. Citywide, we had 18 block groups improve their health rating, meaning they changed color upwards. 5 block groups that fell into at-risk, and then 1 that fell into intensive care. So this is quite a, as I said, a flip of the script here for 2017 compared to 2014. So that's a good thing. When we kind of looking at the trends for citywide, when you compare last time with this time, again, we have fewer at-risk intensive care block groups. We have more outpatient and healthy block groups, 5%. When we drill down a little more into just the NIA areas where we do a lot of our targeted investments, the trend is also up, 4% decrease in at-risk intensive care block groups and a 4% increase in those above average health categories. Let's pull back a second though and actually go back to 2000 and look, this is where you see some dramatic gains because 3 years ago, we took a bit of a dip coming out of that recession, the lingering effects of that caught up. But when you look at where we started in 2000, when we started measuring, we have cut the number of block groups, intensive care block groups in half. We have almost doubled the number of outpatient block groups, and this is just in the NIA areas since 2000. So health is trending way up when you took it over the long term. So that's good news. Where were some of the changes? On the left, and you have this in your notebook to see a little closer, but on your left shows the block groups that had a better health rating since last time. That's those 18 that we said had improved. I'm not going to go over every one of them, but because there's quite an honor roll here. There are a couple, excuse me, that stand out, worth noting, I think. For the first time ever, East Topeka is out of intensive care. When I say East Topeka, that would be the East Topeka NIA areas, the north and the south areas. There's always been at least part of that has been intensive care. With this, they are all at risk at this point. A lot of good direction in the numbers for that. A lot more private investment that we're seeing. If you go down East 6th Street, you'll see a lot of those businesses occupied now, and a lot of the homes behind those businesses being reinvested in. So that, while great news, isn't as great a surprise if you know that. So good news there. The other second honor rollee, Historic Holiday Park. This is the area just south of Topeka High, around the Holiday Cafe, for those of you who know where that is. That, for the first time, they are in an outpatient category since we've been doing this. It's always been at risk or intensive care. So that is a historic district. There's been some good work through code, but also a lot of private investment there as well. So those are kind of the top honor rollees. Others, Historic Old Town, High Crest East, Central Highland Park, 21st Engage area, Quinton Heights-Steele, and Oakland all had block groups that changed color for the better. And they either went up into one of the above average categories. So that's good. On the right side, you'll see we had a handful of block groups that did decline. These are the ones that went into at-risk or intensive care. For the most part, and those include College Hill, Ward Mead, Oakland, and East End. For the most part, at some point during their history measuring, there's been an at-risk category in that neighborhood. So this is sort of a flip back for some of these block groups. The one I would probably highlight here is, and just touch on a little is College Hill. We have not had an at-risk in College Hill neighborhood since we've started. This is the eastern half of College Hill, and it's quite a dichotomy when you compare it to the western half. But the numbers, the poverty and property values are below average there, but everything else is above average. So crime and home ownership and the unsafe structures. So some interesting thoughts on that as to why you see that, but poverty was a huge increase in that particular area, and that's really what drove it into that category. When you look at the west half of that neighborhood, very solid in terms of the health rating, and that did not change. So as I started to get into a little of the why you see some of these changes, let's go over that. When we look at the vital signs that changed, you will notice that the first four, poverty, public safety, property values, and home ownership, all had more block groups improve than decline. That's good. So that was a very good sign. We didn't have that last time. Not quite like that. The one vital sign that we had more decline than improve were unsafe structures. So the question is, did our housing conditions necessarily get worse, or were we just out there more and finding things? And I think in looking at some of the numbers, and we have seen almost more than a doubling of citations for unsafe structures and securements initiated by the city. That is having a very good benefit. Not all, it won't show up maybe this year, or I should say 2017 necessarily for some of the neighborhoods, but we would expect much better outcomes because we're already seeing improvements in home ownership, in property values, and indirectly public safety when we have more or less vacant and blighted structures out there. So that's a while it looks not good, it's probably a very good thing to see as long as those other vital signs are going in that direction. Mentioned some larger market trends, just touch real briefly on that. The economy has stabilized from the recession. It picked up the last few years. Not any leaps and bounds, but enough to have fewer people in poverty. Incomes were inched up a little, and an improved job market at that end. Housing market. You are starting to see some appreciation of values out there. The last 2 years in the county, at least, you've seen a 2% increase countywide. Last couple years, some of these areas will be you'll have to look really hard to find that, but there are areas that the market is helping, as well as any targeted investment. We see. I talked about some private investment in East Topeka. That is showing up. So a little bit of appreciation. By the way, that is not nationwide. We are not unique at all. There is a very low inventory of for sale single-family homes in Topeka, and that is mirrored throughout the nation. That is not something that we are just, now there may be some communities ahead of that, but when you look at a whole very low inventory, there's reasons for that, complex reasons, but we're not alone. Property maintenance, I just went over that kind of as a trend that we have seen here in the last couple of years with upgraded enforcement. So how do we use these things, or how will this be used? Like I said, it's a planning tool. Anybody can look at this and help target their services or assess their incentives, like the city manager said. We have provided all this data online. We also have reached out to those neighborhoods that have seen the decline, those 4 areas, to meet with them. We did this last time, and I think it helps some of the areas. First of all, understand the data. Why did this happen? And sometimes there are some anomalies in there that make people feel a little better. Other times there are true trends that this is not an anomaly. So we will meet with them next week to go over that and strategize as to how to turn that around. And then we assess and our incentives, our services, and again, as City Manager indicated, the one you'll be seeing quickest here will be our neighborhood revitalization program coming back to you hopefully in a month or so to reflect this new boundaries. One of the things I've been asked this, I might as well let you know that why do we do this? I mean, I think you all could have your own answer, but one of the things we did a little more analysis this time to look at how much of the city's resources are devoted to these 4 health classifications. So we looked at the C-Click Fix reports, we looked at property maintenance citations, we looked at fire calls, for a starter, and it's very evident that when you look at the red and the pink areas, we are devoting a disproportionate number of resources in those areas. And that's not a bad thing, but that's why we measure. We want to target, we want to know where those areas are, measure it, target it, so we can adjust and assess how we improve them. So that it may not be a surprise, but we did do a little more of that, and it was very interesting. In summary, so there was a healthy bump for most block groups, East Topeka, notably out of intensive care. Economy matters. That's something we have a hard time controlling at the local level, but certainly that has helped property values and incomes. Property maintenance matters. We really do think that the ramped up anti-blight initiatives will help the overall ratings now, and for those that didn't, it helped now. If you maintain that level of aggressiveness, there will be 3 years from now, you'll see results as well. And lastly, that long-term health is trending up for the NIAs, which is very important to note to continue down this path. Here is where you can find all the data at topeka.org on the Planning Department webpage under Neighborhood Health. And with that, I'll stand for any discussion and questions.
Bill, thank you so much for this report. I'll never forget getting elected in 2014. We had our first one, and just looking at the trends and trying to take a look at an overall picture on how our community had been improving. And it's wonderful to see that there has been significant improvement because of the hard work that the city has been doing, and most importantly, what our citizens are doing to become a part of the system, to be engaged, and to be advocates in their own neighborhoods. Are there any comments or questions for Mr. Fyander? Yes, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate this report. It does serve to emphasize a point that we've been trying to make for years, in that we cannot ignore our healthy communities. I know the east side of College Hill has been screaming at the city for years for assistance and guidance, and it was not in trouble, and it had been ignored for several years, and now it's in trouble. The evidence shows that. So I'm thrilled to death to see that our city is improving, but that does not mean we cannot keep our focus everywhere. College Hill has not received any assistance or support or guidance from the city, and now it's in trouble, despite the fact that I personally have made numerous calls about that. So this is just evidence where if something is good now, that doesn't mean we should stop paying attention to it. And I do agree that our focus needs to be on areas that need help, but that does not mean we should ignore areas that are fine now, because tomorrow they won't be. So we just need to be cognizant of that as we move forward. This just proves that. Thank you.
Councilwoman Clear.
Correct me if I'm wrong, you said the areas that needed improvement we put money into. Is there a resource where we can find out how much money was put into each one of these areas?
Councilwoman Clear, we would know, for instance, some of that through the sort neighborhoods. We actually have that in, not the amount, but we know which block groups the sort target areas were in, and we can work our way back and find out what was invested in those.
Is
But,
that what you're talking about, the city putting money into is mostly sort grants?
some of that, yes. Some of it is the NRP, some of it is our sidewalk program, which we use this, some of it is street projects. So we don't have I don't have a running list of.
Well, I'd like to know for like my district, how much money's been put in, like maybe North Peak and Oakland, and
Okay.
can you do that?
I can.
Just round it around. I don't want it down to the penny.
Well, how far back?
Oh, 2
That would be
years,
the
3
trick.
years,
Yeah.
whatever.
That might be easier to do.
Because people have asked me, and now would be a good time to ask you.
Yeah, that's above my technical knowledge. So if we have a way to look at that easier, I will follow up
Okay.
and see how we can get that for you.
All right, thank you.
Councilwoman Hiller.
Mayor. Well, this is discouraging to me. I have a lot of these neighborhoods and some have slipped. But I also know that there was conversation about College Hill, but Elmhurst is all blue and pink, medium blue and pink. And so probably not for detailed discussion today, but the health map gets used at least in part to decide what neighborhoods are NIAs and which ones are NAs. And those the neighborhoods that have been working really hard to improve worry that they'll kind of improve out. Yet we have had some who have kind of looked over the line. Is now a time when the city, either through planning or through neighborhood relations, would reassess eligibility as an NIA?
Councilwoman Hiller, the eligibility part of an NIA is determined by their percentage of low moderate income residents, and 51% or more, you're eligible to be an NIA. None of our data is directed at that metric, so that is a different metric that is used. And so we would look at that. I think it just came out. In fact, I saw Sasha send us the new HUD data to map. And so that's when that is taken. So we'll map that, show which block groups are above 51%, which ones are below, and determine if they have retained NIA or not.
But if I may, it's strictly on income, not the housing stock?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and then I've got one of the ones that slipped to bright red. And I'd forgotten, but that neighborhood's boundary ends at 6th Street. One of our most challenged set of blocks are the 600 block, which is south of 6th Street. It's in that red box, but that's not really, those blocks aren't in Ward Mead. So are those drawn a little differently for some reason?
Councilwoman Hiller, the block groups are census boundaries. They will not line up, as you know, with the NIA boundaries, which is one of the reasons we want to meet with the affected neighborhoods, because you make a great point. Those blocks north of 6 may actually not be as much of the issue as the blocks south of 6. It just happens to be that there's more blocks in the Ward Mead, so we call it Ward Mead. But for the neighborhood to understand the data, and I think when we meet with neighborhoods, they usually nod their head like, oh, I get, yeah, that makes sense. Like, yeah, we know that area kind of went down, or that area looks like it's getting better. So, point well taken.
And actually, if one last thing, then, if a neighborhood wants to sit down with you, even though you've got aggregate by census anymore, the census information is available by block. So if people really wanted to sit down and dive into it, they could, right, within their neighborhood itself or on a boundary?
They could, by our block group data, if you go down to the actual block, there's a lot less data. But, so we're at the block group level. Yeah, we can drill down and help figure out just about anything that's out there. on the census level.
Thank you, because these are really helpful, and people really do look at them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Cohen.
Thank you, Mayor. Hi, Bill. Me and Councilman Lesser share this one that's just of 21st and Gage. And what has changed there? Because like the roads are still terrible and the houses are still, those small, 800 or 900 square foot homes. And I'd like to know, how we flipped. I think we were talking about trying to become an NIA, especially this part down here by Crestview, and maybe get some sidewalks and stuff made. So what changed, I guess?
I'm looking here at Councilman Cohen. It looks like the improvements came in the poverty levels. And if a blanket statement about poverty levels, of all 5 of these, that's the most volatile measurement that we use because it's a 5-year average, it's a rolling 5-year average done by the census. So you could have a really good 2017 poverty survey and still have a really bad 2012 poverty, and that's holding you back. So, and such a small sample is taken. I'm not throwing these out. I'm just saying that we do see some volatility from time to time. So poverty came way down in that block group, as well as the unsafe structures. Looks like they had 0 in 2017 that were securements or unsafe structure citations. So what that means is the vacant or the neglect did not follow the 14 ratings, and so looking at the trend, it looks like 2014 was a bit of an anomaly since we've been doing this in 2000 in that area. Not a surprise it went back necessarily. It was on the edge of going back anyway. So we did work with them. We actually, I think Sasha's group went out and did some property maintenance surveying. I think TPD helped us out with that as well. I'm not relying solely on that, but
Okay, I know that there was a home that was on Mound View that had been condemned and bulldozed, and it really, I don't know if that's what flipped us the other way, but there's a lot of other really bad roads, and there's no sidewalks in any of these neighborhoods, so that's kind of what we were really hoping for. Thanks, Mayor.
Sure.
Thank you. Councilman Lesser.
Yeah, Bill, hey, the only question I have in regards to that area, it's a small little area that Councilman Cohen and I share. Just out of curiosity, there is a number in that little swatch of rental apartment complexes, those type of things. Can that, necessarily on the poverty level, skew it a little bit from the fact if there's, college students that aren't making, wage-wise a whole lot that are in those type of apartment complexes? Can that skew it or not?
Yeah, Councilman Lesser, it can. If you have a little more apartment units and you're getting a lower, if they're of a lower rent, yes, you're going to affect that particular vital sign, which may be poverty. However, so we smooth these out, you would get credit probably for an increase in a little more for residential property value, because most apartment complexes have more property value than a single-family home. And we don't count those against home ownership rates. We don't count apartments. So, yeah, again, the poverty is an intriguing. It seems it's like a whack-a-mole thing. It just kind of pops up. You hit it over here, it pops up over here.
Can you say that again? Whack-a-mole?
I think I did.
Yeah.
That's a technical term.
No, thank you. Thank you. And then, the only other thing I want to say is, this was really well done, put together. So outside of, I'm not talking necessarily about what our content is, but it's easy to read very, very well. So very nice job on that. Thank you.
Okay, additional comments, questions? Seeing none, this was a discussion item. Bill, thank you so much for bringing this item to our attention. At this point, we now proceed with announcements, if the clerk would read. We have no meeting next month, so therefore there is no preliminary agenda. We proceed, next week. City manager.
If we do look out 2 weeks, though, to May 1st, we will have the pedestrian safety ordinance and camping right-of-way ordinance as a discussion item, the false alarm ordinance potentially as a discussion item, and also potentially the CID project. We'll work on those items. A couple of them we're pretty sure we're going to have, but some may move back. Also, an action item, the 2018 Neighborhood Partnership Program resolution, and also a resolution regarding the agenda contents, the public comment location. So those are some items that we're contemplating right now for the agenda in 2 weeks. A couple other announcements that I have. Want to let everybody know that there is a coffee on your corner tomorrow, Wednesday, April 18th, from 10 to 11 at Paradise Donuts, which is 1620 Southwest 6th. The topic will be the bike plan and will be presented by the Planning Department. Also want to recognize tonight Mary Feeney, our Deputy City Attorney. She is here to recognize her for the fact that she won the 2018 Honorable E. Newton Vickers Professionalism Award from the Topeka Bar Association. This Saturday from 9 to 3, the Topeka Zoo will be celebrating Earth Day. This year's Party for the Planet will include 36 different activities and 28 partnering agencies from Northeast Kansas. The event will feature informational stations and hands-on activities, including make-and-take crafts, edible activities, puppet shows, classes on how to plan and plant a butterfly garden, and the conclusion of the Earth Day storytelling contests. Still being accepted. Applications are still being accepted for the Topeka Way to Work Summer Youth Employment Program until April 19. Interviews will be held April 23rd, 24th, 25th, and 26th. The program will run May 29th through July 7th, and youth will work 15 hours per week. The pay is $10.50 per hour. Anyone interested can go and look at our website at topeka.org/TWTW for more information. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. Well, first, I want to let everybody know that as part of my duties of the Board of Regents, I will be leaving and I will be in San Francisco doing some training on how to become a better regent for the Washburn University, our very own Ichabod land. So that being said, I will not be able to attend the mayor's event that's happening, and Deputy Mayor is going to offer the welcome that day on Saturday. In addition to that, I want to thank the great people of Oakland. That we had a presentation on Momentum 2022 yesterday, had a great chance to sit down with the residents of Oakland, had the boss, Ms. Ortiz, be there and also provide her input with the neighborhood. I really enjoyed the time over there. In addition to that, I also had a lovely time Saturday working with King Davis and his SLA, which is a Strategic Leadership Academy. It is a group of individuals that are coming together to learn how to become more engaged in our community. And several of the individuals that were there were very impressive. I was very excited to meet all of them. Thursday, if you are available for lunch and there's still tickets, the Chamber of Commerce and Go Topeka are hosting our Would Visit Topeka and the Greater Topeka Partnership are hosting our State of the Community address. And this year, I will say not to expect your regular address. I'm not going to get into too many details, but I can tell you that Commissioner Cook and I are ready to go ahead and do whatever we need to do to provide you information in a non-traditional way. And so get your tickets because you don't want to miss that. The last thing that I will say is, as everybody knows, I have been receiving phone calls this weekend and calls today with regards to our opinion and our statements with regards to the news that came out in Business Insider. And just for the sake of our community, so that you all know where our position lies, first of all, I sent a letter to the Business Insider editors and to the writers that did the story, letting them know that we do appreciate in the city of Topeka the fact that they are taking a look at the statistics that our Department of Police so readily has provided so that we can continue working on transparency. However, in that same breath, I would like to invite the Business Insider community to take a look at all the wonderful things that are happening in Topeka. It was rather unfortunate that the major MSAs of the state of Kansas were not also included, therefore giving Topeka a highlight. But my hope is that after reading the communication that was sent over to them, they decide to go ahead and take a look at Momentum 2022. They take a look at the great work that our TPD is doing with working with the community. That they take a look of our downtown and what we're doing to improve our quality of life. And that they take a look at the fact that Topeka is a great community to live, work, and play. Thank you very much. Councilman Cohen.
Thank you, Mayor. Wanted to tell you guys that the tickets are on sale now for the St. Jude home. It's in Miller's Reserve. We waived the building fees for that to make it a true free home. The home, I heard, is going to be valued at over $400,000, and a ticket only cost you $100. So me and my wife bought a ticket. And wanted to also tell you that June 5th, Topeka Gives at Fairlawn Plaza Mall, and I'll tell you more about that later. So thank you.
Councilman Lesser.
As it may come as a surprise to you, I'm not nearly as politically correct as you are, Mayor. I actually would like to
Smile?
Condemn the article by the Business Insider as a very an investigation that was not well thought through, that was not accurate, that did not have accurate information. While the information may have been accurate, it certainly was not complete. And I would also, though, like to then commend our Capital Journal for then doing an article and reaching out to the chief and letting him just explain, the article, explain the shortcomings of it. And we're a city that's moving forward. We have I believe, the right man in the job. And this is one of those things that sometimes you start moving forward and life throws you a slap. And I hope he doesn't get deterred by that, because I think he's doing an excellent job, and I think it was a very unfair article. And I again applaud the Capital Journal for taking the time to sit down with him and let him explain the shortcomings of the investigation. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Hiller.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for stepping up about that. Sometimes when we invite people to town, we change their picture too. So, good. I just have one announcement. Let's see, the 25th, what day would that be? Wednesday next week? Is National Walk to Work Day. And so Blue Cross sponsors that every year, or Walk at Lunch Day, I'm sorry. Blue Cross sponsors that for downtown. And so anybody who's going to be downtown, it is from at noontime on the Capitol grounds. And it's always fun, and a free event t-shirt for the first 300 people. So you too could have a Walk at Lunch Day t-shirt. Enjoy.
Councilwoman Claire.
Don't we also have an arch dedication downtown?
We do.
Yeah.
On Wednesday.
Okay, on what day? Tuesday, 10 o'clock for Mayor, past Mayor Wolgass. Are you going to mention Resource?
Groundbreaking ceremony at 1 o'clock.
Resource has a ribbon cutting at 1 o'clock next Tuesday. And next Friday, the Boys and Girls Teen Center has a ribbon cutting. And this is exciting because then the older kiddos will have a place for themselves, and there's a kitchen. They're going to learn how to cook. They're going to have a food pantry they're going to run. And this is an agency that we have funded. So if you want to get over there and see that, that's at 3 o'clock Friday. I think that's all my plugs.
Councilwoman Ortiz.
Thank you. I'm still concentrating on walking to work there. That's a lot. First, I just wanted to say, next Tuesday, we have the budget input, correct?
Yep.
And that's at 6 o'clock? Yes. Holiday Building?
LAC.
LEC? Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because that's kind of out of the norm. So when you said we had the month off, I thought, well, that's pretty good. We just, anyway, it was, Oakland NIA was very, very good last night. A lot of people attended. They wanted to hear what the mayor had to say, and I wanted to hear what she had to say too, and she did an awesome job. Very good job. I don't know how she does it, because she's everywhere. It's like I pick up the paper and there she is. And so I appreciate all the hard work that you're putting in, Michelle. I wanted to say that. And as I was coming in, the firefighter, or the chief, stopped me and he gave me these applications about smoke alarms. And I mean, I thought he had a check for me or something. But anyway, it's just as good as a check to save somebody's life, because every life is priceless. So I do have them, Mr. Padilla, I do have them in Spanish for you. And Mr. Henderson in Spanish for you.
Thank you.
So I'll send a couple that way. And who else needs one? If you want to hear me shut up, then, get these things out there and get these smoke detectors in there. And I'm gonna ask, where's Bill at? Bill's been up here quite a bit. Bill, come and get an application from me. Jackie got one. Bill, can I get you to come get one?
Which bill?
Both of them, bring both of them. I'm not gonna discriminate there. Is there anybody else in the audience that would love to come and get a smoke detector application to give to a friend or a loved one? Thank you, City Manager. He's gotten his, but he's gonna give one to, he's gotten two, wait, there's three, here's three. Wait, don't you, there's one for you. I appreciate, who else is out there? Any more bills out there? Any more bills? Okay, where's that? I love legal, so I'm gonna have legal come up. Mary Feeney, bless your heart, come get it, come. And where's our municipal judge there? Come on. Can I, if you can't use it, can you find someone that can use it?
Oprah has nothing on Councilwoman
And now, last but not least, here, you might as well just take this for just a second. I want all the yellow shirts. I want all the yellow shirts that are, if you're here with the yellow shirt, if you represent a yellow shirt, can you please come up and get one? Our finance department, Nikki, both Nikki, Nick and Nikki. Nikki, you got them babies in there. Make sure you get an application. Don't let me down. There you go. If they can do it. Bob, you stood up, Bob. There, come on down, Bob. Come on down. Can we get the media to come down? That's it. Come off the wall, please. This is, there we go. There we go. Let's help our, thank you, Jack. Oh, Jack, Mr. Alexander, self-anointed, self-appointed, come on down. Come on, get your application. And please use them. I'm looking for the media back there. Can we shine the camera, zoom in on the media back here? And one in the corner in red that's taking the, come on down. Come on, this is serious. This is serious.
There you go.
This is serious. Our cameraman, and he's gonna be our last one. Our cameraman. Okay. All right. I think that covers everybody. Madam Mayor, I am so sorry to take up that much time, but I have that much love for everybody in here. I wish it was a full house. I wouldn't have all these applications. Thank you to the chief. Follow through with them. Thank you.
I think it's kind of interesting. Most of you will see the fact that we really get along and we were having a good time with this, but what I can tell you is Councilwoman Ortiz really does love this community. So when she says that she does it out of love, she really does. Mr. Antonio.
Councilwoman Ortiz, not like me to ask a serious question, but there's no, what do you turn these in? There's no fax or email or anything else on these, is there? Is that, unless my Spanish is now, Please.
Yes, Councilwoman Ortiz.
Sorry, I guess I can't do it.
Chief, can you come up? This is your plug. Come on, come, 5 minutes of fame. Come.
Because I do have mine filled out, but I don't know what to do with it now unless I don't
¿En
have.
español? ¿La hizo en español?
No.
No?
All français.
5 minutes of fame. Tell them what I'm doing.
Sure.
These can be delivered down to the administration building on Jefferson. We'll take them in and we'll call you and set up an appointment to come to your home and install the smoke detectors.
Thank you, Chief. Can we fax these or scan
Yes,
these
you
in?
can. Or you could actually get on the internet and get onto the city's webpage, go to departments, public safety, fire, and you can actually do it over the internet.
Okay, well, fantastic. So this is electronic form,
For any
okay.
firefighter, can we get them at any station, or we can turn them in, right?
Yes, but
Don't
your
get them
best
to
bet
work.
if you have a computer is to get it on the webpage.
He might not know.
Thank you.
So, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Ortiz. I do appreciate that.
I'll look forward to your application.
Thank you. Two quick things. I was at a neighborhood association last night in Rolling Meadows, and actually, City Manager Trout was there as well. And one of the things they've been struggling with, they love the next door application we have, but their boundaries are not correct. And I think this is something they've had for several months, and I think they're getting frustrated. So if there's anybody, I don't know what department, but if they could please get that. And I understand there's also, the Racket Club, 37th and Wood Valley has the same problem. Their neighborhood is what they said. So that'd be fantastic. But the second thing on that, Mr. Trout was there, and he's been now to 2 NIAs that I share with a couple other council members as well as that last night. And every time I've just been really impressed how quick a study Mr. Trout is about our community. And he was talking very in depth about some things like with White Lakes Mall and things that it was just really shocking to me that in such a short time he's assimilated all that information. So really appreciate that, and I appreciate you taking the time to come to those NIA and NA meetings. So thank you.
Mr. Padilla?
I hesitate because I don't know if I can follow up on Councilwoman Ortiz. Just two things real quickly. Talking about events that happen in the city. I attended a free concert from the Air Force Academy. I don't know if any of you got a chance to attend it, but that was quite an event. I mean, that was really something. They even did a section from Alexander Hamilton, which is pretty different for an Academy band like that. And the other thing is, just real quickly, I want to thank City Manager and Deputy City Manager, his staff, and some of my fellow council people for all the work that they're putting into this CIP. They're really taking it seriously, and I really think that that effort will show in the final result. So I thank you very much for the time you've taken and for the patience you've shown for our questions and the things that we've asked for. So for you and your staff, I really compliment you for that. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Your Honor. This afternoon, I had the privilege of dropping into a presentation by the Catholic Charities and Jump as they begin their conversation on predatory lending in our community and what happens to folks that get stuck in a financial hole, and it's so impossible for those folks to dig out. And I just want to commend those two groups for beginning that incredibly complex conversation. I mean, there's elements from the state, the national, and the local level that are really going to have to come together and change in order to solve what is a very deep and daunting problem. As somebody who's never really struggled with that, thank God, it was an interesting eye-opener. I mean, I was always aware that there was that issue, but wasn't quite aware as to the depth that it was and how it just really affects some people. And it was excellent to hear. There's a lot of ideas that are being thrown around. There's programs in their infancy now that can help address some of those things. But it's a longer conversation that needs to be had, and it was really interesting and eye-opening to see, and I appreciate the invitation to come and participate in that. Have a nice week, everybody.
Councilman Mays? Seeing no comments, we have two individuals signed up for public comment, the first one being Deborah Vance.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Deborah Vance, and I am on the board of Topeka Jump and a member of El Shaddai Ministries. I am here before you today to give you an update on our work and about the upcoming Nehemiah. Excuse me. Catch my breath. In the past year, we have been working with Susan Duffy at Topeka Metro to expand public transportation to the southern outskirts of Shawnee County. This past December, JADO funded a pilot program called SOTO. SOTO gets people employed by Mars, Bimbo's Bakery, and other companies to and from work for $5 a trip. We understand JADO and other groups have adopted this holistic approach to economic development some time ago. In 2015, JUMP started meeting with the MTPO and Topeka Metro about what expanded transit service could look like in the city and the county. There have only been a few examples of what holistic economic development really looks like, and SOTO is one of them. We want to extend thanks to those of you who also work with Susan Duffy to develop and support SOTO. JUMP is continuing to publicize the service and to work with Susan on presenting a plan to keep this program going in future years. This program is currently averaging 175 rides per week and has helped employees with over 1,000 rides this year. We've also been consumed with doing something about housing, as you all know. We enjoyed the proclamation that was made last week that April is Fair Housing Month. Let us thank you again for the Van Buren School Partnership, the first of its kind in the city, to create 81 new affordable housing units for low-income families. This is a step in the right direction, but the demand for affordable housing is far greater than the supply. JUMP appreciates the work housing providers are currently doing. We would be in runs without them. We also appreciate the SORT grants that strengthen neighborhoods every year. It is not all gloom and doom. Some good stuff is happening, but since 2016, JUMP has been laser focused on seeing this council adopt a new and different approach to dealing with several shortages of safe and affordable housing. Under normal circumstances, housing may not be a problem for the city to deal with, but we are not operating under normal circumstances. We have a crisis on our hand. It is not too much to ask for our governing body to respond accordingly. Thank you to Mayor Michelle De La Isla and City Manager Brent Trout for keeping this issue before the governing body and city staff. Thank you to each of the council members who have met with us and bounced ideas back and forth with JUMP. We look forward to our work together to, as the proclamation said, focusing on public attention on the pursuit of ending discrimination and increasing opportunities for people to live in safe and affordable housing. As our Nehemiah action...
Ma'am, do you need additional time?
Can I have one more minute?
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second by Councilman Emerson. All those in favor vote.
We have 10 yes.
10 have been voting yes.
Okay.
You have a minute extension.
At our Nehemiah action, 1,000 community members will come together to hear the mayor, the city council, Susan Duffy, and city council members like Mike Padilla address our housing and transportation proposals. The action is on April 30th at 7 p.m. at Most Pure Heart of Mary Catholic Church. We hope to see you there to hear the voice of the people in your community. Thank you.
Thank you. The next individual signed up for public comment is Dick Kellerman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, council members. I can be real brief because one of the reasons I came up here was to introduce myself to the mayor and to my own representative in District 2. And the reason I came up to speak with them, I want to be more involved as a constituent, especially in the social and cultural issues that are taking place here in town. And I visited with Karen too about this. I didn't know how to find out about some of these things that are going on. I don't have Facebook. I very seldom get on a computer, if I can do my best not to. But, so I'm asking this, I've asked Mayor and Karen and Sandra if they can keep me informed of some of this stuff so that I can become involved. The second thing I want to do is both for the public that sits here and for y'all, I'm on the advisory committee for the Shawnee County Parks and Recreation. And we have a lot going on right now where finances and so forth are concerned. Somebody here had brought up something about recreation and who it was going to pay for something. I don't remember what it was specifically, but these are things that we're trying to get the public to come to our meetings and participate and hear what we're going through right now. And not just the public, but city council members could come occasionally. Now, we meet on the last Tuesday of every month at 5:30. It's an hour and a half. We go an hour and a half now. And I'm sorry I don't have website numbers, so the best I can advise you on there is to call Parks and Recreation Department to find out, because we rotate where we're meeting. Recently we were in Oakland. Where was I the other night? In Garfield, I believe. So every month we'll change to a different rec center so that we're getting different areas of town, kind of like visiting the different NIAs, so to speak. So that's why I wanted to get up here and speak. Extend to all of you the chance to come to our meetings and to the public. So, if there are any questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kellerman, for your involvement. We have a need to recess into executive session, not to exceed 20 minutes. If the attorney could please read.
Yes, the motion is to recess into executive session for a period of time not to exceed 20 minutes for consultation with the city's legal counsel to discuss attorney-client privilege matters regarding potential litigation as justified by KSA 75-4319B2. In order to aid the discussion, the following individuals should be present: members of the governing body, City Manager Brent Trout, Deputy City Manager Doug Gerber, Deputy City Attorney Mary Feeney, Chief Bill Cochran, and myself.
We have now heard the parameters. Do we have a motion to recess into executive session? Councilwoman Clear, Deputy Mayor seconds. Now, if you can all vote.
We have 10 yes.
10 having voting yes, we will recess into executive session following a short break.